Country. This is News 2 at 6.
Thank God for the attorneys. I just thank God for everything that He has done. My soul is rejoicing right now.
The family of Walter Scott speaking following the sentencing of former North Charleston police officer Michael SLAGER. Tonight, team coverage concerning SLAGER's fate. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carolyn Murray. Today, the Lowcountry felt its first wave of cold weather this season. The question is, how long will this chilly, wet weather stick around? Let's check in with the Lowcountry's chief meteorologist, Rob Fowler. Rob is on the... All right, Rob, thank you. We will check back with you later. Earlier today, former North Charleston police officer Michael SLAGER was sentenced to 20 years in prison for second-degree murder, no fine, and then given 2 years supervised release. His sentence comes after the deadly shooting of Walter Scott following a 2015 traffic stop that led to a chase and a scuffle between the two men. In May, SLAGER pleaded guilty to violating Walter Scott's civil rights. News 2's Rebecca Collette has been covering the trial since this incident happened. And Rebecca, give us an idea of what happened in that courtroom today. What did you see and hear?
Carolyn, good evening. It was really emotional in court today, as we would have expected. Both sides of the families crying in court, both visibly upset. We've heard both families say that they knew the other was hurting, both families offering each other forgiveness, saying they were praying for each other. It was really a heavy day today in court. And the judge even came out on the bench and said that he loves his job, but a day like today is the hardest, and the thing he hates the most is handing down a sentence that will affect so many people's lives. But he said that he believed from the evidence he heard that Michael SLAGER acted with malice and with forethought when he shot and killed Walter Scott. He said he also believed from the evidence that Michael SLAGER obstructed justice by what he believes was lying to the investigators immediately following the shooting. Following the 4-day sentencing, the defense team wouldn't respond to my questions.
It's a disappointing day for you, probably not what you anticipated.
Court was emotional. Cameras are not allowed in court, so we are relying on these sketches to paint the picture of this final stage and what we now know was the murder of Walter Scott. Before handing down the sentence, the judge said it was obvious Michael SLAGER had a spotless life, but followed by saying this shooting should have never happened. In court, Scott's family offered SLAGER forgiveness. SLAGER supporters asked the judge for a just and merciful sentence. Listening to his sister and mother address the court on his behalf brought SLAGER to tears. His wife said she would be waiting for him to complete his sentence. The Scott family says justice has been served and appreciated SLAGER's public apology in the courtroom.
And I don't think he's a horrible person, but what he did that day was horrible. I mean, just that split moment, what he did was horrible.
One of the other things that Rodney Scott said today in court that I thought was particularly touching in addressing Michael SLAGER and his family was telling them that he was hurting for them, showing them compassion, because Michael SLAGER will spend the next 20 years in jail. And when he gets out of jail, his 2-year-old son will essentially be the age of a college student, a son that he missed his birth for because he was in jail. The son was born just a few weeks after this shooting. So even through all of this, the Scott family has continued to be exceptionally forgiving, merciful, and we saw that yet again today in court. Live downtown Charleston tonight, Rebecca Collette, News 2.
Rebecca, thank you. And our team coverage continues on the sentencing of Michael SLAGER. Today, we heard from Walter Scott's family, his family members saying that this decision was historic. News 2's Sophia Arizosa is live in downtown Charleston. And Sophia, Walter Scott's mother, Judy Scott, said Michael SLAGER finally taking responsibility was important, but she says his apology came late.
That's exactly right, Carolyn, but I want to rewind to a year ago when the Scott family was standing outside the state courthouse less than a block from where we're standing right now following that mistrial. I spoke to the Scott family that day, and they had a message of hope. Today, 1 year later, their resilience is evident, repeatedly attributing their faith and their trust in the justice system.
This is the day that the Lord have made, and I am rejoicing, and I'm glad in it.
Walter Scott's mother, Judy Scott, expressing thanks following the sentencing and extending forgiveness for former North Charleston police officer Michael SLAGER.
I just thank God for everything that he has done. My soul is rejoicing right now.
The Scott family saying they're satisfied with SLAGER's 20-year sentence.
The Scott family is pleased. I want the world to know that the Scott family is pleased. We got justice.
The decision coming more than 2 years after Scott was fatally shot.
I thought it would have been over sooner than now, but it's been a long ride for my family. And we've had a lot of heartache, a lot of crying, and we've seen our brother run and die many a times. And that can never stop and that can never change. But we find the victory.
Attorney L. Chris Stewart calling Judge David Norton's decision historic.
Today is a historic day for civil rights, particularly in officer-involved shootings. This is one of the largest sentences ever. Being found guilty of second-degree murder and obstruction of justice.
Anthony Scott saying this case will pave the way for others like it.
We have set a roadmap for them to follow, to believe in God, and try to keep the peace.
Now that's News 2, Sophia Arizosa reporting from downtown Charleston. And today, certainly, as you can see, an emotional day for the Scott family. But we also want to take a moment to talk about Faden Santana. He's the man who recorded that cell phone video that was used and was so essential in this particular case. The news conference in which we heard from the Scott family, Faden Santana said that this was a good day for the nation, but a very difficult day for the SLAGER family, saying that he just wishes that SLAGER had not pulled that trigger April 4th, 2015. Attorney General Jeff Sessions also responding to today's sentencing, saying those who enforce our laws must also abide by them, and this Department of Justice will hold accountable anyone who violates the civil rights of our fellow Americans. On behalf of the Department of Justice, I want to offer my condolences to the Scott family and loved ones. We will continue to follow reaction from Michael SLAGER's sentencing on air and online at counton2.com. Reports of a person at Wando High School's campus carrying a gun forced his school into lockdown today. Just before 1 o'clock, Mount Pleasant police received a call about a suspicious person on the campus. After searching, police detained a person of interest. That person was near the Medical University of South Carolina in downtown Charleston. Now, again, there is no report of any student being directly impacted or affected by this. We will continue to follow this story and bring you more details as they come in. The man who admitted to stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Berkeley Independent School District will face federal charges. Former BCSD Chief Financial Officer Brantley Thomas faces several felonies, including embezzlement. News 2's Berkeley County reporter Raymond Owens reports.
Thomas has been charged with several felonies related to the indictments, and now a South Carolina grand jury has charged him with 15 more indictments. Now, the first indictment was issued October 17th. Another separate indictment was issued on November the 15th. Now, they were unsealed yesterday. Two charges include wiring money from a district account to his personal account. 10 charges, he converted funds to his personal credit or checking accounts. The Berkeley County School District released a statement that said in part, quote, "Records indicate that Thomas was indicted for embezzling funds from our children since at least September 11th, 2001, while all eyes were focused on the atrocities in New York." Now, the total amount of money that is alleged to have been stolen and embezzled by Thomas is approximately $458,493.35. In Monk's Corner, I'm Raymond Owens. Count on 2.
The Department of Health and Environmental Control visited more than 100 Charleston County restaurants this week to issue grades. Count on 2 consumer investigator Libba Holland points out some of those violations.
111 A grades in Charleston County. You can find those on counton2.com. But there was one C grade this week in downtown Charleston.
Five Church on North Market Street got a C grade on Tuesday. Here's a look at the report. Some of the violations include mold in the ice machine and cold food stored warmer than the required 41 degrees, including the sauté cooler, which had an ambient temperature above 50 degrees. Also, one of the violations explains foods were not dated or expired. However, a new inspection was performed Wednesday and the facility received an A, almost all of the violations corrected. Park Cafe on Rutledge downtown now has an A grade, but on November 30th, an inspector gave it a B. Violations here included butter stored at room temperature and other cold foods warmer than 41 degrees. On the report, it says cooling units weren't maintaining the required temperature. Another violation had to do with smoking meat, saying the outdoor smoking area does not comply with regulation. But since then, the restaurant has had 2 more inspections, so there is an A now on that window.
In Dorchester County, Somerville Country Club received a B grade. There were 3 B grades recorded this week in Berkeley County, but no C grades in either county. Head to counton2.com for more information. In the studio, Libba Holland, Count on 2.